To put it simply, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is utter perfection, and in no way a money grab. This is so much more than a new lick of paint. While the new bells and whistles do boost the main game's intensity and immersion, making this the definitive way to experience this stage of Ellie's story, it is far from the only way that this remaster shines. The new mode, No Return, perfectly isolates and highlights Part 2's brutal and thrilling combat system in an experience that is unlike anything we've ever experienced in the franchise, while the lost levels and director's commentary offer valuable insight into the behind-the-scenes genius of those who made the game. Despite originally being released on the PS4, The Last of Us Part 2 still remains one of the best looking games out there. When the remaster was announced, I wondered if we'd see any meaningful difference, but I was wrong to worry. First off, the game is surprisingly dark. That might sound like an odd change on paper, but trust me, it makes for an all the more thrilling experience. For example, light no longer exists for your aid. If you're in an underground tunnel, it won't be dimly lit just so you can see what you're doing. The developers were clearly a lot more intentional this time around. If there's only one lamp or one window, light will only emit from that source. If there is no light source at all, natural light included, your flashlight is going to feel so much more crucial than it ever did in the original release. This change is something that I noticed immediately. In fact, even going so far to actually pull up the original game to compare. It goes without saying that graphically, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is a tour de force, building on those strong foundations established in the original game. But the most prominent change to come to the main game though is easily the addition of the PS5 DualSense's haptic feedback. For those of us who played 2022's The Last of Us Part 1, it functions much the same. Each weapon has its own unique feel, largely through button resistance, while you'll also feel the gentle patter of rain or the terrifying rumble of a distant bloater or shambler. Let me tell you that when you can actually feel the roar of the big Rat King fella in your hands, you might want to drop your DualSense and just run a mile. The fun, or should I say emotional devastation, doesn't end when the credits roll, as it did in the original release. I'm sure you'll be itching to dive into No Return, and with good reason. Pitched as a brand new roguelike inspired survival mode, I can tell you now that No Return is positively fantastic. No Return boasts 4 modes in total. Assault sees you face off against 3 waves of enemies, where sometimes they'll begin in search and other times they'll begin in combat. In Hunted, you'll have to survive several minutes as enemies continually close in. Holdout is very similar, except this time you've got a companion that you're tasked with keeping alive. Finally, you'll unlock Capture. This mode features a safe, guarded by enemies which you must unlock before the time runs out. The more runs you complete, the more of these modes become available. The same goes for enemy types. Initially, you'll either face off against the WLF, Seraphites, or the Infected, but after some time you'll unlock Rattlers too. There are 6 bosses to beat in total before you'll unlock the randomised boss encounters. Capture and Assault, in my opinion, are the easiest of the 4 round type to choose, if they're available as options, but you may be hindering your long-term success by picking the path of least resistance. Greater risk comes with greater reward, and you'll need every weapon and upgrade you can get by the time you reach the final boss fight. And as if that wasn't enough to keep you on your toes, I haven't even touched on the gameplay mods yet, which really set the No Return mode apart from any experience you'll have in the main game. Some mods work in your favour, lowering the difficulty by slowing down time on a headshot, or boosting your speed after vaulting, but for the most part though, mods are yet another obstacle in your path. If I hadn't put it across already, No Return is by no means easy. Even on the lower difficulties, it'll take some time for you to find your flow and fall out of the restricted patterns you may have picked up in the main game. Once you finally master that flexibility that No Return demands though, you simply won't be able to stop coming back for more. While No Return is the jewel in this release's crown, the Lost levels are a must-play addition for fans who are curious to learn more about the craft of creating video games. All 3 are relatively low-key. One level is completely void of combat, another sees you grapple with a single infected, while the final level features a short struggle with a boar. Each, as is stressed in a series of introductory videos, is months away from being finished. The Jackson Party is void of dialogue, while the sewers and boar hunt are a tad further along. They are still work in progress though, with missing animations and gameplay tweaks. What is most joyful about playing these lost levels isn't actually the act of playing them, it's listening to the developer's commentary that activates as you proceed through. You'll learn why the level was cut, why certain obstacles or layouts were chosen, and where the cut ideas were eventually recycled elsewhere in the game. Guitar Free Play certainly won't blow you away quite like No Return, the lost levels, or the main game. That being said, it's a well put together addition for those who long to show their musical prowess outside of the main game. Guitar Free Play actually allows you to select from several characters, including composer Gustavo Santaolalla himself, even picking between various stringed instruments. You can also add sound filters, allowing you to perfectly set the tone you're after. Plus, you can adjust the background. I'm really looking forward to see all the in-game fan covers when the game releases. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is everything fans could have wanted from this release. If you're a new player, this is the definitive way to experience the next chapter in Ellie's journey. And for those returning for another round, you'll undoubtedly feel a renewed sense of wonder at the marvel that is this game. The Lost Levels will provide you with a deep appreciation of the creative process, but it's no return that makes this release so special. With the mode, Naughty Dog has proved that The Last of Us isn't just a narrative powerhouse, it boasts a thrilling combat system that perhaps until now had been underestimated. No Return pushes the franchise's systems to their limits, creating a mode that's oh so easy to sink many hours into. As a full package, there's nothing else you could possibly want from The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. We all thought Part 2 was Naughty Dog's magnum opus, but Part 2 Remastered shows that there is plenty more gas in the tank. If this is an insight into what's to come from the studio, I cannot wait to see what Naughty Dog cooks up next. Our reviewer scored The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered a perfect 10 out of 10.